Alrighty, I think we are live. Are we live yet? Jokes aside, yeah, we are live. And for anybody tuning in on the replay, I always humbly request that you consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. And if this blemish on my face remains another few days, we might give it a name. We'll have a naming contest on Wednesday if that becomes necessary. Anyway, we're going to begin today as soon as I put my chronometer / health monitor on my wrist. We're going to begin with an astrolog. And I'm going to open my window because I want some cool air. You know, I want to keep it cool like Calvin Coolidge. I don't even know if he was cool, to be honest. I mean, he might have been cool. Based on some of what I read. But that is not the topic today. The topic is just getting the aesthetics of this little thingamajig. There we go. It looks, I like to have a little gap there. Okay, I don't know why I'm OCDing over the position of the filter. Anyway, yeah, so where to begin? We will begin with an astrolog for Sunday, November 12th, 2023. Time is 10:43 Eastern Time. And for starters, I think we need to start with a story about, my backyard computer. So for the longest time, since I got into this hobby, I've had a computer in the backyard. In fact, when I started getting into astronomy or astrophotography, I did not always have a computer in the backyard, right? So I can get an example, a picture of what I mean by this. But I would actually, have to just put the telescope on a piece of plywood and kind of just manually aim it. And then when I got a motorized tracking mount, that is the point where I, started looking into other options. So this would be like a later, relatively more recent setup. But even in this picture, you can see a plastic tub on the table with a laptop. And the idea was, I got this from one of these other YouTubers where he would put his laptop in a plastic tub, but it would be turned on its side. It would be mainly to prevent moisture from getting on the laptop and a way to block the stray light. But usually what I would do is up until a certain point, I would, manually disassemble and reassemble it. So at some point before this picture was taken, I used to actually take this 45-pound mount, disassemble it and put it inside. So that meant removing the telescope. In fact, I had a different telescope when I started the hobby, but I would remove that telescope from the mount, and that often meant removing any equipment that was attached to the telescope and moving it inside. But let's see if we can get us another example of what things used to look like. Here we go. If this is how I started this hobby, I would just, assemble and disassemble the entire kit and caboodle. And if I could leave it outside, assuming weather permitted me to leave it outside, I obviously would bring the computer inside because, you can't just leave a computer on a table. But you can see I'm getting started. I have some electric tape on the table to prevent cables from moving around, because back then you'd have a USB cable hanging from camera 1 and camera 2 going into the laptop. You'd have another USB cable going around to this side. So I didn't even have a USB hub yet. But eventually I realized that, it just made sense. What's up, Brandon Looney Tunes fan 2000? It's really good to see you, man. I gotta drop a link to your channel because I like what you do, and I also just, really, really think it's cool that you've been clearing these milestones, that you surpassed Stone Loki, our friend, right? And so let's see if we get you up to 2369. Right now, he's got 2,368 subscribers. Brandon Looney Tunes fan is killing it on YouTube. And by killing it, I mean he's being very successful here. So, I have great respect and admiration for his progress on YouTube. So getting back to the astronomy log here, or the astrophotography log. That's how I used to do it, right? And now, or more recently, I would put the computer in a tub like this, and I would put the lid on the front of the tub, and for a while it worked. I could even keep it out in the rain like this, and it would be fine. But in recent time, it took on some water, and I was trying to get a little creative here. You can see in this picture, I took different sheets of ABS plastic and bolted them together in order to hold the power supplies in position, and you know, put accessories in. But eventually I moved away from standing next to the telescope, because if you have cameras, you don't really have any way to look through the telescope. So it became less and less necessary to, you know, like be outside with the telescope. It's rigged for remote operation. And so that brings us full circle. That brings us full circle to today's Astrolog for November 12th, 2023, 10:47 p.m. Eastern Time. And, you know, we still have a computer in the backyard for controlling the telescope. But it's not a laptop anymore. I actually have a desktop, because unfortunately my beloved Acer, which was a pretty good Acer, all things considered, took on some water damage. And so, you know, I needed something in a pinch, and I decided that I would put a desktop computer out back, because I've been really interested in seeing if we can get any, you know, improvement on the performance of the USB ports, because essentially there's many ways to do this. And I used to have, for example, 2 USB hubs plugged into each other. So I would have like a USB hub, a 4-port hub plugged into a 7-port hub. This hub would be mounted directly under the telescope. And that's because when you try to extend a USB 3.0 cable, things get really janky very quickly. So ultimately, I found a better solution than daisy chaining USB hubs, and it was to buy an active extension cable, which happens to be right here. And it's basically a 1-port USB hub. And you can even see like an even more extreme example on the left, where it's got a little blocky bit at the end. Once again, it's a 1-port USB hub, but you can actually see 1 and 2. So you got actually 1, 2, and 3 little blocky bits on this cable, because really, internally, they're daisy chaining 3 USB hubs together. And as insane as it is, it actually probably works. Like, this cable here works really well, the single one. And it's better than daisy chaining hubs, because if you look at a USB hub the wrong way, you know, the cable jiggles a little bit, and you got devices disconnecting and resetting like instantly on you. Now, an alternative to getting an active extension cable would be to get this. And so, since my backyard laptop took on some water damage, a friend of mine did recommend that maybe I look into this. You know, put the computer inside the house and run USB over Ethernet, which actually would work pretty well. So you see, you got this end goes into your computer, this end goes in the backyard, and connecting these 2 boxes together, you would literally just have like Cat 5 or Cat 6 actually in this case, connecting from each of these boxes. And it seems interesting, but the problem is that only works for USB 2.0. Now, my 2 astronomy cameras are USB 3.0 or 3.1 or something like that. And so we would need something a little more robust. We would need something like this. And actually, this is crazy. It was $300 up until like today, apparently. I mean, like, I'm wondering now, does this thing usually sell for $219? Because it was selling for $299 for the longest time. And I'm not looking to buy one of these, but I mean, geez, they're really trying to entice me here, because if I ever wanted to buy this for summertime, I can see myself using this during the summertime, because right now we have a really powerful desktop computer in the backyard. We got an AMD. Hey, what up, Lemon Pie? We got Lemon Pie in the chat right here. Daisy chain hub. Yeah, that does sound dirty, but this one has fiber optic on it. I mean, look at that right there. Like, ooh la la. I mean, you won't have any interference issues on this one here. And let's get the YouTube chat on screen here. There we go. We got the YouTube chat up on screen now, so people can see what our friends at the YouTubes are talking about. But yeah, you know, like, so this would actually overcome some interference issues and whatnot. But I'm still not confident it would be great. However, with this computer here, I gotta say, like, first there was some growing pains. I had like an older dual core out there, and it wasn't really that great, but it was getting the job done, kind of. But luckily, I was able to overcome some obstacles I had. Mainly, I couldn't install Windows 10 on the 1TB SSD until I converted it to a different partition table format from what they call the old MBR master boot record to GPT. But bottom line is, once I formatted the partitions, established the correct partition table, I was able to install Windows 10 on this machine and get the appropriate software so that we can, of course, aim the telescope and all of that. It's a little trickier to waterproof a desktop, but I gotta say, this thing is just running so much better. It's like worth it, man. Like, I might just keep going this way until summertime, at which point I'm gonna have to make some decisions, because I think this 8-core, this older 8-core, which is very robust, will get a little toasty. And I want to give a shout out to Wakizashi's Tea House, who currently has a lunch break in the great nation of Japan. And it's a beautiful place. And he has a beautiful YouTube channel. So I'm going to leave a link right here. And I'm just going to, actually, okay, I could auto-populate that, right? Can I do that? Yeah. There we go. So we got a link in the chat for Mr. Gray Wakizashi's Tea House. I highly recommend you check him out, especially if you want to have like a peaceful morning or something like that. So yeah, I mean, like, this is just a beast of a CPU, and to give you like a little reference here, we have some benchmarks, and this is what my laptop had. It had a dual-core i5 with hyper-threading, so it looks like a quad-core, but it's not. And it's ranked 903rd. The CPU I'm using now, which is actually 4 years older, or about maybe like a little less than 4 years older, is ranked 552nd. Now, it's going to eat up a lot more electricity. It's going to put out more heat, and that's a little interesting segue there. First day I put this computer out, I accidentally triggered the overclocking feature. It has an automatic, the MSI motherboards, some of them have a feature called OC Genie. You press the button, and it starts overclocking like instantly. It's like, it's pretty cool. If you're into overclocking, I'm not, because this was literally like a marginal 200 megahertz increase in performance. And for that 200 megahertz, I was getting like more than double the heat output. Right now, we're like running at 62 degrees Fahrenheit. With the overclocking at 4.3 gigahertz, I was getting 156 degrees Fahrenheit, or around 80 centigrade. And that was even outside in 45-degree weather. The machine overheated on me twice and turned off. So I was like, okay, let's double check this. Double checked it. It was like, oh, okay. Figured out how to disable the feature, and we were off to the races. So, there we have it, and I just like, I used to have this problem where if I took a 5-minute exposure, because, we're capturing a star cluster here, so we want to keep the shutter open for like a few minutes at a time. Oh my God, what is that? That's like a little gas cloud in the corner right there. Like, I might have to investigate that. And thank you. I appreciate that, Gray. Gray says my streams are also very calming. So the object in the corner is actually this thing here. This is actually, and this is red, which is why it's coming up in my red filter. It just happens to be on the edge of this star cluster. It's so small, it's not worth taking a dedicated photo of it, because it would literally be a blotch that would be this big. So we're going to keep focusing on the star clusters, because right now I'm taking advantage of star clusters as an easy way to hone my image processing techniques, because it's really easy to take a separate red, green, and blue filter pass of a star cluster like this and then combine them together afterwards. Whereas if you're doing a nebula, especially like the Pac-Man nebula, there are a few more steps in the process. And I just feel like I'll never, process any of my imagery if I don't keep it simple. So I decided to just do star clusters for now. Or at least focus mostly on star clusters. And, to answer Gray's question, he asks, what first got you into astronomy? Star Trek. Star Trek is what got me into astronomy, Gray. Nah, but jokes aside, I always liked astronomy. I mean, I always wanted to have the capability to look at stars, but I always knew there was an, obstacle to getting in, a barrier to entry, And when I was finally willing to go about overcoming that barrier to entry and pick up some equipment, granted, I did get a head start when a customer at my old retail job was willing to sell me a vintage Celestron C8 planetary imaging telescope for like $200. and it was actually this telescope here. Before buying the C8, which this is a 1978 model, it's a shame I cracked a mirror on it because I really loved this telescope. I hated aligning the mirror, which is why I bought my new telescope, because I wanted to get a scope where I wouldn't have to align the mirror. I sacrificed some aperture or light gathering capability, but I also simplified some of the process, because now I'm not wasting nights on tinkering with the mirror adjustments. But it was in 2004 or 2003. I was using a camcorder to look at Jupiter, and I was kind of thinking in 2000, maybe it was 02, but like 2002 or 3, I'm looking at Jupiter with a camcorder, and that's when I realized you could distinguish the moons of Jupiter even with something mundane like a video camera. And then a friend lent me his Bushnell telescope for like a couple of weeks, and I saw Saturn. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm mixing up planets. Saturn. I saw Saturn and its rings, and it looked like crap, but it was like so freaking cool that you could see like what looks like Saturn, and you could actually see the freaking rings. Like, these are not some fake thing that you see in like some book. Like, this is like real. So that was kind of cool. But like, from that point, I just avoided thinking about it because I knew I wouldn't buy a telescope for a long time, but then I started seeing people on YouTube doing this, and I said, oh wow, there's like the software is getting much more mature. The hardware is getting more mature. You don't need to buy a $4,000 CCD camera anymore to do imaging. You get a $900 camera, a $1,200 camera. I think I spent $1,200 on the last camera. Was it 15? I don't know. I don't want to count it. And Examoon has a cool name and a cool avatar, by the way. Examoon, I gotta say, I like that. It looks like a white wolf or a husky. And he says, yes, the infamous FX8350. Probably one of the biggest flops in AMD history. They pushed their technology too far and got a furnace. I agree, but I gotta say that the FX8350 held up for a long time for like a lot of people, and maybe that was partly because of super competitive pricing. But when I was seeking to build a good budget build, I felt that it served me right. But there are things about AMD builds that get a little janky sometimes. And I remember the first day I built that machine, it didn't give me video out, and the heatsink got obscenely hot. And then I basically pulled the battery out of the motherboard and put it back in, and it was good to go after that. But I have a feeling that I triggered OC Genie by accident just by taking the motherboard out of the box or some crazy shit like that. This one, yeah, it sure gets a little toasty in the summertime, but right now, it's a little bit hard to judge. Hey Google, what's the temperature outside? Really? It's supposedly 34 degrees, and right now my CPU core temp is at 63 degrees Fahrenheit. So take that as you might. That might be evidence that it is a pretty toasty CPU there. But anyway, I'm glad that Star Trek. I think Star Trek is a great answer too, Gray. Thank you. And then Examoon also adds, the most shocking thing about Star Trek is the Enterprise D had 1,200 people on it, and only one bathroom. Well, you can have one bathroom when you're teleporting the poop and the waste to the bathroom, right? They got site-to-site transport. It's no longer a risky proposition like it was in the original series when Kirk was worried about being beamed into a wall, So, maybe that's why it's okay, right? But, yeah, I'd say this Astrolog, I tried recording this astronomy log video, like, as a dedicated Astrolog, and I want to do that as a thing, but I kept re-recording myself. And so after like the 5th re-recording, I said, let's just do this as a freaking live stream. So like, that was me yesterday, and we're here today doing an Astrolog, and we're going a little bit all over, and that's cool. But anyway, I can't say enough positive stuff about how well this is working now. I used to have like random issues. So for example, you go to take a 5-minute exposure, and for the first picture to come up on screen, it would take 10 minutes. It would take twice as long. And then after that, you would have to like, if you get a 5-minute exposure every time, but if you change the setting, you'd have to wait twice as long for the first picture. So if it's a 2-minute exposure or a 10-minute exposure, whatever it is, the first picture always takes twice as long. And that just made things tedious because I want to see, like, as soon as possible whether the settings I'm using are gonna be good or bad. Right, good. So we just double checked my last picture set. So now we're gonna switch to the blue filter, which I'm clicking on now. What's also interesting about the Enterprise D is that you can fit the entire crew. And yeah, I have a demonstration piece right here, actually. Actually, nah, but I'm pretty sure you can fit the entire crew, like, standing somewhere, like, over here or some crazy shit like that. Like, it's, like, literally, like, my pinky nail, if that. That's the whole crew standing, like, at an assembly, basically, right? So, you either have a lot of empty space, or they're carrying a lot more people than they're saying, or Cetacean Ops takes up a lot of internal volume, which actually, there's a blueprint book out there that is supposedly official canon, right? You know how, like, they'll make these arbitrary declarations. They'll be like, if it's in this book, it's canon, or some crazy shit like that. And then you find out there's some absurd item in the book, like a section of the Enterprise D where they have dolphins and whales. And granted, there was some concept art, but they just never did it on a, you know, actual set because of expense. But it was an interesting idea of acknowledging the intelligence of cetacean species, whales and dolphins, and giving them jobs as astrogators, you know, astrogation, navigating the stars, being able to help out in this, you know, human alien space exploration endeavor. So that was kind of bizarre, you know. So yeah, I don't know. Take that as you might, grain of salt or not. But I mean, now, do shuttlecraft have bathrooms? Because, like, this is another thing they never showed in the show, but you have the main shuttle bay and you have these smaller shuttle bays here. So these little garage doors here were like the secondary shuttle bays, but this was the main shuttle bay, and this thing was freaking huge. Like, they never show it in the show, but there's like a gigantic shuttle bay. This is like where you would park the runabout, and we do know the Enterprise carried at least one, if not three runabouts. I don't remember how many, to be honest, but it carried runabouts, and they would have to park in here, and by golly, there was enough space. There was enough space in that part of the ship to accommodate that. So anyway, whoops. I just changed to the blue filter, but in order to adjust the focus, we got to shorten our exposure time. And this is where the only problem comes in, actually. One, I don't have autofocus yet, but I do have a solution for autofocus. Basically, I'm going to put an extension tube on the tube that the camera is attached to on the back of the telescope. So basically, we're going to put an extension back here somewhere. And that's so that when the motorized focuser is pulling the rack and pinion mechanism out, it doesn't have to go out that far. Because the less it has to extend the mechanism, the less likely it's going to rock, the less mechanism backlash we're going to get on the gears. And then from there, I'm going to take some Teflon strips, which I have like right here. So I took like, I have a roll of this stuff that's like multiple meters long. Well, not meters, like a few feet long. And one side is adhesive backing, the other side is just Teflon, like on the bottom of a mouse pointer. And this thing glides like butter. So we're going to put this on the focuser tube, so when it goes in and out, it's got something. If I got to stack these in layers to put more pressure on it, I will. But my intent is to eliminate backlash, because if I can eliminate any play in the mechanism, I can hopefully get autofocus going. And if I can get autofocus going, I would be one step closer to fully automating this. Because right now, I can automatically aim the telescope to some extent, and I can aim at a target in the blind, and then use another program to help me make sure I'm looking at the right target. And I want to give a shout out to Copa Ex Machina, or is that Machina? Copa Ex Machina. And Examoon says, the sources section has a lot of things for families of crews, such as entire schools for every age range. That is true. I would have thought they would have done a Montessori school on the Enterprise, but what do I know? And here's the first problem. So I click on the focus button, and it just goes black for like 30 seconds, if not longer. And on one angle, it's better than it freezing up completely on me, but I don't know why it makes me time out, makes me wait that long, you know? So I usually would either wait patiently if I'm walking down the street, But I do have another solution for this. As soon as it snaps out of its funk, I'm going to do something that I'd rather not, just because I want to save time. And I think changing the exposure time sometimes makes it snap out of its rut. But I'm not willing to bet on it. We'll see what happens. We got Jana Banana here. Hey, how you doing, Jana Banana? Thanks for dropping in. Thank you to everyone dropping in tonight. I'm getting a lot of different faces. Bear in mind, guys, this is the bonus show. I usually don't have a plan. I was trying to do an Astrolog today, which was sort of doing. We're covering some ground. But I've been doing a Monday show consistently every Monday. So whether or not I cover a cool topic tomorrow, I don't know. Or do anything, if I do anything cool at all. But yeah, I'm just going to keep doing it, you know, every freaking Monday like clockwork. That is the plan. And so far, I've been keeping to it. The Enterprise D is a small ship in general. Just compare it to a Borg cube. It might be small by comparison to a Borg cube, but it is pretty massive considering that the total crew complement barely fills it up. I mean, it's the size of Paramount Studios, but you know, there's different standards, right? If you're building a generational ship, I think bigger is probably better. You know, like there are situations where you know you would want to make that decision. So let's do something here. We're gonna give the focus a couple of seconds. I'm gonna open up another app, which I hate to do because I like being able to control the focus here. But if it's gonna black out the button and prevent me from controlling it, I have to use this cumbersome app. It doesn't make me happy, but we do have another app that controls it. On the other hand, auto guiding has been really good. The automatic multi-star scan has been working great. And we can see the sky is changing colors. So there's probably some haze or cloudiness in the atmosphere that is going to, you know, contribute to some negativity, which is why I take multiple shots of every, you know, target through every filter. Borg cubes are also small when compared to Voth City ships, which can hold hundreds of enterprises. It's a good point, though. Yeah, I mean, it's moderately big. I miss my old one, though. This is 100mm wide. It's certainly longer than it is wide, but I think it's like a 20-pounder, 18 to 22-pounder. I forget how much. And you got motorized focuser attachment. I have a different one now because this one proved to be rather unreliable. The one I'm using now is very reliable despite the one minor issue I'm having right now. It wasn't a common issue. So it's funny how, like, I got rid of like 90% of the issues I was having. You have a filter wheel here, and you have the black and white camera here, and use filters that allow color imaging on a black and white camera. Then, piggyback to the back, you have a guide scope, and that's basically what helps to keep us on target. It helps to correct for any tracking errors, but I do truly miss my C8. This thing was a beast. I mean, look, it's an 8-inch wide bucket, and essentially the design allows it to be half the length that it would otherwise need to be to get the same job done. But I just loved watching this thing aiming at stuff. It just looked cool. Yes, I can see the American flag on the moon. No, I'm kidding. I cannot. What I can see is, that's something I got to cover in a video. I actually was working on a video that's still in editing about the moon landings, about, you know, debunking common misconceptions, or at least showing like the vehicle itself that was used was a real vehicle, you know? I can't prove that men landed on the moon. Because one thing I remember, I went to a barbecue and the guy was showing a friend of mine who didn't believe in the moon landings a picture from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, which is a satellite that orbits the moon. And it was like, all you can see is like reflection of metallic stuff and maybe a shadow. Maybe a shadow. And it's like, and tracks from the lunar rover. You can see the tracks pretty well. But if I was someone who didn't believe in the moon landing, I wouldn't trust that type of evidence, you know? I mean, like, even though, like, it's annoying when somebody will just say, oh, that's Nazis, oh, that's not real, you know? But I can at least empathize with the non-believer that I'm going to need to show them something more. And so if someone tells me the Earth isn't round, literally the design of the mount that the telescope is attached to, like, there's a reason why it has this funny looking design, that how it's on a 41-degree angle in the middle. that is literally because that's my latitude. I'm on a 41-degree latitude, and that's how I can align it with the North Star, or at least align it with the celestial North Pole, which is near the North Star. And this is essential to being able to aim the top bit in whatever direction while having this part go from east to west, because this has to continuously move from east to west in order to counter the Earth's rotation. I think on this occasion I was actually trying to look at Jupiter during the daytime, and sometimes it can be done. But this mount alone, the design of this mount basically proves the Earth is not flat. On the other hand, I can't prove the moon landings happen. The best I can do is like say, you know, like this vehicle was built, it was built to a certain standard. I could debunk a lot of things that I hear that I think are dumb sounding, like when people say, how can this vehicle travel, people will say, how can the lunar vehicle travel, you know, 300,000 kilometers or miles while it looks like it was built in a garage over a weekend, and then other vehicles are aerodynamic and only able to traverse this planet. And really, it's because it didn't need to be aerodynamic. That thing never gets exposed to atmosphere, and that's going to be in the video that is mid-editing right now. Okay, thank you for Examoon reminded us the Voth city ship is the one that beamed the Voyager inside of it. Now, I definitely remember that episode. I really do. The flag was replaced by a Chinese flag a few years ago. Well, that would be true, Examoon, if Chinese people landed on the moon. Last I checked, they only landed unmanned probes. Oh, that's nice. Thank you, Nosferatu the vampire. I am honored to be your North Star. And you're my favorite vampire. Don't worry, the Examoon says, don't worry, the Indians will remove the Chinese flag and install a toilet that won't be used. They'll just dig a hole and squat over it. They'll do the third world squat. They probably got like you know those pajamas where you unzip the flap, or you unbutton the flap to take a dump. So this is super annoying. So this app here, as you can see, has a bunch of crap that dominates the entire app window. And I don't even know if I can shrink it. I don't even know. Let's see how much we can shrink it. Because, like, this is just supremely annoying. And I guess what we would do is we would tell it... How would we do this? I guess we could say... We can go 40, 50 steps in or out. So let's try this out. So, like I said, I prefer doing this inside the software. But right now, it's not giving me choices. So let's see what happens. Whoops. Alright, let's try that out. Let's see if we can see any effect. Well, the software is definitely working, so that's good. So at least this one's working more rapidly, more robustly, but there's a few things I have to set up. I have to set up what do you call it? Anti-backlash, or basically where it counteracts the backlash in the mechanism. But for now, we're going to do that manually. Frankly, I can't tell if it's getting better. It looks like it keeps getting worse. Whoops. Alright, let's try something out here. We're going to make a real mess of this. Yeah, this is not particularly cooperating right now. I'll tell you right now. Oh, I see why. Okay. Like I said, this is not my preferred method of doing this. Oh. Now it's making some sense. That's an interesting question. Why haven't we been back to the moon since Kubrick filmed it in '69? Ronnie G talking about the Indian squat dumping on the moon is the most based thing I've heard this week. I was talking about the Chinese squat dumping on the moon. The Indians, they're looking to find the ice on the polar regions of the moon so that they can contaminate it like the Ganges. Get your stuff straight, man. Focus, not focus. But yeah, speaking of which, that's gonna throw my focus off to talk about why we haven't been back to the moon. My barberess, you know, the lady who cut my hair, she was asking the same question. She was like, oh, Elon is weird, and like, you know, why haven't we been back to the moon? And there's some interesting theories, like, look, maybe we went to the moon, bumped into some guys on the other side who said, alien guys that said, go no further. And that would be freaking ominous as F, and it would be really cool, you know? Well, it wouldn't be cool, it'd be kind of ominous and scary, but I'm more inclined to think it's a matter of expense. We got what we needed done. There was really no motive to go back at the time. You know, I don't think it's really like that complex of a reason, you know? I know we like to attribute something less than mundane, but sometimes it is the more mundane reason. And you get a lot of people saying, oh, why aren't we paying for fixing the inner cities or something like that? Like, oh, that money for the rockets isn't going to Earth. This is useless. And some people would say some bullshit about, you know, the human spirit and exploration and some crap like that. Other people would talk about spin-off technologies. I mean, me personally, I think that there's a lot of economic expansion that can happen in space between here and the asteroid belt, especially the asteroid belt. More so than Mars potentially, although Mars could be a hub of scientific, you know, scientific whatever advancement. How many? I appreciate that Copa X Machina, but I mean, I'm like on my C game tonight, man. Like I'm exhausted. I worked 12.5 hours. Like I was trying to keep this one as a short stream, which right now I'm doing pretty well here. As long as this doesn't fall into like 2 hours, I'm a happy camper. I don't even want to make this an hour. I just want to get this thing, you know, queued up. And then I'm going to let this thing take pictures when I go to bed. But I do appreciate that, Cobra. Ronnie, do you think that there, Nosferatu says, Ronnie, do you think that there are hot space babes out there? Dude, I want to know. When that couple got married on the American space shuttle, did they bang in the airlock or not? I know they try to tell us that they couldn't because there's no time to bang in the airlock because, you know, they have a very busy schedule. But, I mean, the timing sort of allows for it to be possible. And, I mean, you know, what's the point of consecrating your marriage? Oh, what, you know, what's the point of getting married if you can't consummate that shit, you know? Might as well, I mean, I guess it's good to get the world record, like, oh, we got married in space, yippity-die-doo, right? But, that would be my question is, did those folks, you know, did that guy score with his new wife in space or not? So, okay, one cool feature that used to be a real problem on this was, let's say I want to take a 10-second exposure to verify this is working. You get a progress bar, which I'm currently blocking with my body. Hey, wait, where did it go? There we go. This progress bar. So this progress bar tells me that it's taken a 9-second exposure. And at the end of the progress bar, it updates the image on our screen. And then I'm going to click a button here to sort of fix that. And, you know, just make sure that my camera's in focus. And the longer the exposure, the more light we can gather. So if we do an 18-second, we get an idea there. And I'm ultimately going to crank it up to like 5 minutes because, you know, it's what I've been doing with these star clusters right now. Generally I do like 2 minutes, but I'm trying different things right now. But anyway, the bottom line is that I no longer have to wait twice as long for the exposure to come up because I used to set it for 18 seconds and it would take 36 seconds for the first picture to pop up on my screen. It was absolutely frustrating. So if I set it to 5 minutes now, it will actually only take 5 minutes for the first picture to come up. Now, I don't expect people to wait for it, but it'll only take 5 minutes. Now, what we need to do, I just remembered, I almost forgot something. We got to do the plate solving. This one's been working really well, too. So plate solving is where you take a picture and you open it up in this app. And this app compares the points of light, the stars, to known constellations in a star map. And it basically figures out, am I pointing in the right direction? And so in this case, it's telling me that NGC 7510 is over here, which even though you can't see anything here, you got enough points of light that it can calculate where I'm aiming. And this is basically how I can have a consumer grade telescope mount without worrying about being off target. So anyway, we're gonna do the plate solving now. So plate solving originates from the olden days when they used to literally use glass plates for photographs. So we take a picture. Back in the day, they would physically compare the glass plate to other glass plates, I believe, or they would somehow use the angles or some mathematical crap. Did I get the right picture? No, I did not get the right picture. Let's try that again. So this one here is... Now, let's get back to chat here. When begging in 0G, is it doggy style or reverse cowgirl? Depends if you have elastic straps, Copa, because that's actually a real issue doing it in 0G. Like, you know, it doesn't work as easily as you would think. You know, it's actually a little bit challenging, you know? And I bet you being strapped to each other while wearing strap-ons would probably be optimal. But of course, I mean, I don't know how that would be optimal for the guy so much as for the girl. But anyway, I have not played Deus Ex Nosferatu. Is that a video game? Is that like The Matrix? Is that about vampires? Is it about cyborgs? Because they're like, you know, Deus Ex machine guys, right? Sigh. Here we go again with the Deus Ex fanboy. I used to think it was Deus Ex Machina. So I'm like, okay, so this machine's gonna drop a deuce. Got it. But then I learned later on it's like Latin. And so, yeah, Janet Banana, zero gravity. Exactly. And I was about to open up another can of worms about an argument, a friendly debate I had with my coworker. But I'm afraid to open that can of worms right now about gravity. Copa, don't project your Catholic fraternity nightmares on me, says Nosferatu the vampire. And then Copa says, noted, elastic straps, strap-ons optimal. Why, thank you, Janet Banana. I appreciate you subscribing to my channel. I hope I can deliver quality content. Deus Ex is the most prophetic video game ever made. Pre-9/11, and it predicted modern-day society. Interesting. So that means that it's a freaking RTS game like StarCraft. Oh, no, I'm kidding. I suck at that game. But I'll take a look. I'll look it up on GOG Games because I have a feeling that's where you go for these things. So yeah, this star cluster looks like a bunch of like cluster of crap in the middle here, right? So anyway, shit, did I do it? I forgot if I did. Okay, let's just double check my settings here. So what I had intended to do was, okay, wow, it's still scanning it. Okay, so I've had a plate solve happen in under 30 seconds today. I've seen them take 90 seconds. This one looks like it's in for the long haul, so I don't know if that's good or bad. But we'll give it an opportunity to do what it's supposed to do. And look at this, clouds outside. Sometimes what we do is we just go to bed. And if the clouds go away while the camera is blasting off photographs, that's fine. You know, as long as I don't have to stay awake to make sure it happens. Where did I put the app? So yeah, this is supposed to update the position reticle, the little target HUD right here. It's supposed to tell me where I'm really aiming so that I can correct for it. But it looks like it's going to be a little biatch about it. So let me just check something here. I took a new picture. That is new, not nude, N-E-W, new. But I guess we could take it. Anyway. Hopefully that goes quicker this time. Now, I could show you my turtle. This is my turtle. Her name is Puffy. Isn't she pretty? She has very festive orange ears. I gotta do more activities with her and her stepsister, but she's a great little turtle. I really am quite fond of Puffy. She really warmed me up to the whole turtle keeping thing. All right. So yeah, I mean, I gotta say there's just probably some subpar atmospheric conditions right now. I mean, it's cold out, but it does feel like there's something blurring up the image, you know? And I don't think it's my focus. Like, sure, we could dial it down a little bit, but based on the auto guiding, we see the sky fading up, fading down, fading up, fading down. It just looks like the atmosphere is being atmosphere-like, right? I mean, it would be so much easier to do astrophotography if we didn't have any weather. And if we didn't have any, whatchamacallit, any, atmosphere. Yeah, we should eliminate the whole fucking atmosphere. Okay, like, make this hobby easier for me, please. Let's see what our friends in the chat has to say while I let my Gundam lay down. Hey! Amuro! Oh, it's not holding the beam saber. So this shield I painted, but it looks like there's some skid marks down here. I was hoping to go for battle damage because I couldn't get the paint job to dry. Then we got my all-time favorite Victory Gundam right here, and this thing is just like cool because it can like transform into a fighter plane. You can even see the nose of a fighter plane sticking out because it folded up. But I got a real treat for you in a moment. So let that one stand there. Yeah, man. Hey, what up, Zax? Wow, man, I got like the most bumping chat tonight, and like I just came here half awake. You know, like this was supposed to be like a bonus stream. Remember, my main one is Monday, okay? The Monday stream is where it's at because apparently nobody else uses that time slot. So it's a great opportunity. I can exploit that time slot, you know? So I try to bring my A game. Today this was like my C game here with the intent of like nobody showing up except like 2 people. But no, I love having you guys here. Thank you. And Copa Ex Machina Machina says, I want DJ Ronnie G on Yo. It's your favorite movie show now. What? Nice. I've just had a bowl of ramen and I'm ready for anything. You know what? And they don't F around with that Japanese ramen. Koreans too, man. Like, they throw friggin' entire cold cuts into their friggin' like, you know, cold cuts. What am I? I'm Italian. What do you people call cold meat in like Asia? You guys throw pieces of meat into your ramen, okay? Like we just like get a cup of noodles and like treat it like it's less than pasta. We put meat in our pasta sauce, right? At least us Italian types. And like I've seen people like Asians and they'll throw fucking mushrooms and shiitake mushrooms and lettuce, or maybe not lettuce, but like some green crap into their freaking ramen. They'll really pimp it out, and they actually have a ramen joint in my town now. So anyway, did the plate solving finish yet? That's what I'm waiting for. Oh, it did. Okay, good. I can show you how this works real quick. Okay, good. So anyway, this reticle. Now, one of the weird things is the reticle has been off target when it's on target, but a lot of times it's off target like it should be. So when I click yes, this is going to move to the true position based on constellations. And actually, it's telling me I'm already on target. Okay, I don't believe it, but if I'm already on target, I mean, oh, wait, a mother fudging minute. I see. Actually, it should be okay then. Okay, I think we're good. We're good. Okay, so the plate solving was successful then. Let me double check some stuff here. So we can click on this button here to see the results of plate solving. Yeah, slices of pork, a whole egg. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about, Gray. Ronnie with the cold cut guinea ramen. Yeah, I know, right, Nas? Cabbage and negi. Pork is beautiful. Yeah, pork can be beautiful. Negi is a kind of leek. Well, you should probably patch up that leak if that's the real problem. I mean, you know, you guys should be conserving your water better in Japan. You shouldn't let leaks happen anywhere. Nah, it's obviously spelled leek. It must be a type of leaf or something. Oh, good. Okay, we're good. We're good. Okay, so what this is showing us is that the target I want to have in the center of my frame is in the center of the frame. So even though you guys can't see a lot of start points in there, it doesn't matter. The computer doesn't need a black background. It just needs to have enough of these little dots to like measure against. And it did. and it sees this, and it sees some nebula NGC 7538 in the top right corner. And that was that skid mark. I mean, that blur that we saw earlier, which I can show you guys again as soon as that's I don't know why the remote connection is lagging a little bit. Let me see. Ah, there we go. Now it snapped out of it just when I switched my screen. So yeah, apparently you know, this thing here was coming up in the corner of this thing here actually was coming up in the corner of the frame, and it actually identified it, and it says NGC 7538. So same image. And at this point, what I do is when I go to bed, I might click on the button a couple more times. Although actually this is bad. We're already looking at a target at a 40-degree angle. I feel like I should be looking at a completely different target right now. Let's see if we can find another target. But first, I should show you my Gundam transformation. Let's see here. We got double dragon cluster. Actually, this just says double cluster. See, I like to get things that are directly overhead when I can. Now, my camera is oriented like this, so I couldn't really capture the double cluster. The best I can do is like maybe click on a star in the middle and center it like that. Or that. Or that. But it's a little, you know, tricky to get a precise targeting thing going for that one. But we want to get objects that are directly overhead, because that has the least atmosphere between me and the object. And in fact, we're going to do that right now. We're going to do spiral clusters. So what we're going to do is we turn off auto guide and we say, hey, aim at this object. Then the reticle is going to go zoom over to it. See? And that one is the spiral cluster, right? So now I knocked over my Gundam. So we type in spiral. And this is interesting. So ever since replacing the backyard computer with this one, I can type in names without it lagging. So that's like really cool. So then what I do is like maybe I do like a 9 or 18-second exposure. And then we're going to open it in that same app. It might take a second for this thing to settle down. You can see how it's got some streaks because the telescope was just moving. There we go. We'll close this image out. But it looks like the atmosphere is not going to cooperate, so I'm not going to fight with it too much. I just wanted to, like, you know, make sure the telescope is earning its, you know, earning its pay while I sleep. No doubt, Wakazashi Gray, man. Thanks for showing up, Wakazashi's Tea House. Everyone, subscribe to Wakazashi's Tea House. I'll leave a link right here. That's the link to Wakazashi's Tea House right there. And it's an honor to be able to entertain you. Gray hasn't had Gabagoo. Gabagoo. Oh, Gabagoo. Oh, yeah. I love Gabagoo. Or do I call it Gabagoo? For Crimbo. Well, I missed a bunch of chat there, haven't I? Jana, not the real Tony Soprano stuff. Gray, Nosferatu says, Gray, I want to hold you in my arms and watch Jim will fix it. Nos will fix it for me, says Wakazashi. Alright, let's solve for plate, and then we'll transform a Gundam, and then I think I'll wrap it up, because my mama always told me when I got my first girlfriend, she said, wrap it up. She said, first she told me about the 60s, and how people were getting all kinds of stuff, you know, unwanted gifts from the free love. Then she said, wrap it up. Then she said, don't double wrap in that order, in that exact order. So what was the name of the object I was looking at? Spiral cluster. There it is. So I like to put a little suffix at the end to tell me that this picture is only for plate solving. So when I do my final image processing, I don't try to use these low quality images as part of my, you know, final product, you know. And I haven't really shown any final products, but let me see if I can accommodate you guys real quick. So on my second or third monitor, this is one example of a star cluster. It's a little hard to see right here, but one of these days I'll get the image that we can zoom into. And it's not just white. It's got tan colored stars. It's got some like white stars, red giant star down here, for example. We got one red giant. But these stars are all different colors. And the raw data originated as black and white images, similar to the ones that I'm showing you here. So once again, we just told the plate solving to correct. And my telescope is almost dead on nuts. So now I'm going to tell my telescope to recenter on the target. And at this point, I'm not even going to run the plate solving. I'm going to assume that we're on target. So what we do here is pretty simple. We just stop capturing new images for a minute. We tell it, okay, now you go back to doing a 5-minute loop, buddy. We hit capture. And then we go back to PhD. Ah, shit, I clicked the web browser. We go back to this app here, which is called PhD2. It's auto guiding. We tell it refresh. Then we click this button. This button, I used to click on it and get like an hourglass. But on this fast computer, now it just instantly detects multiple stars. Now you get this little cross here, which is down here. But what it's saying is this is our main guide star. But it's also analyzing these other stars. And if these stars start drifting up and down, it tries to average out or figure out, you know, how much of a correction needs to be sent. So this graph says, hey, this is going off target. And these like straight lines are saying that the program is sending corrective pulses to the stepper motors in the mount. And this is because the longer you do an exposure, even though the mount is designed to counteract the Earth's rotation, the reality is that you're always going to have some mechanical imperfections. I need to up my game to be like you, Gray. I mean, like, who the hell did I see today who had a cool intro? I need to do what Pop Culture Mechanic does, yo. Pop Culture Mechanic has a beautiful intro on his Sunday show. Like, he plays this, like, 90s, like, I don't know. It's very wholesome, but it's, like, very pro-like. Like, he does a good intro for his Sunday show. I gotta hand it to Pop Culture Mechanic. Let's see. Now, get out of here, Gray. I don't want to get you late for work. No, I'm kidding. But it's a real pleasure, man. I'm glad I was able to see you tonight and entertain. Oh, there's something I gotta do. So I want to get Punk Waddle up on a future stream, and I want to might even be next Monday. And beyond that, then maybe I'll put out a survey and see what people want. But you know, if you guys subscribe, you'll be able to see that survey. So keep that in mind. So anyway, while we let the telescope camera settle down, let's transform a Victory Gundam. So even the original Gundam has a chest and a body that turns into a fighter plane, without the legs, of course. But the Victory Gundam is one of the most versatile Gundams in all of the franchise. And in particular, this is the V2 Victory Gundam. And we're going to turn on a light here, because I have this giant ring. We might as well take advantage of the light it can provide. Because I want to show off the beautiful paint job I did. Look at that. I painted the pilot. He got a little blue helmet visor. He got a seatbelt. He's even got a airbag that inflates whenever, you know, around his chest whenever he's flying. So now what we do is to transform this. What we want to do is we want to turn this fighter plane into the chest of this Gundam. How do we do that? Well, first, let me just get my aim right. Okay, so first, we gotta take the vertical stabilizer and fold it back like this, right? So we fold it up like this, leave it out like that. Then we gotta take the Gundam head and we gotta push it up. So to push it up, we gotta actually push this bit like this. Then we gotta fold this back like that. Then we gotta take the back armor. We gotta fold the vertical stabilizer rudder back into place, and we gotta lock this into place. So let's see, how do I do this here? Whoops, did I break anything? Oh wait, there we go. Then this part gets folded out like a V shape, just like the big Gundam. Now, where does the pilot go? Well, that's easy. It's got to fold up. So we take the nose, we prepare to fold it up. We take this part of the nose, we shove it in without snapping it, hopefully. This part always scares me. That's basically it. And there we go. And so now I just need to build the rest of the chest. I need to build the arms, the legs, but you can see the resemblance, can't you? And it's one of the reasons why the Victory Gundam is one of my all-time favorite mobile suits from the Gundam. This is actually the V2 Victory Gundam. This isn't even the first one, but the pilot in every Gundam since the very first one sits in the chest. Obviously, I gotta add the golden star here. I wanted to clean up the shield before I do that. So yeah, you know, that's something that I'm gonna continue working on in the not too distant future, is finishing this really sweet gimmick right here. So now let's transform it back into a fighter, a core fighter as we call it. And they call it a core fighter because it is the core. So once again, we fold the nose in. See how quick that turns into a nose right there? I have a nose too. I have a big nose. Now this is the scary part. Okay, folding out the vertical stabilizer, no problem. We move the armored plating out. The scariest part is this part here. We got to push the head down and it clicks 3 times. 1, ow. 2, 3, click. And then once you do that, you just make sure the head is straight. And you take the armored plate with the vertical stabilizer and you get that into position. That's what she said. And then you're basically off to the races, or, you know, off to the acrobatic flights, right? And there you go. You got a core fighter again. And the Victory Gundam could transform or dock in the middle of combat. Now this one here, I got to clean up some of the panel line paint. No problem, a little alcohol. But I actually put this piece on the wrong side and this piece on. So I had to remove these yesterday, but I ripped one in half. So I had to use Tamiya cement. And this stuff is really good because it basically melts plastic. You got to be real careful with it, but it straight up melts plastic. Hence the name plastic cement. So anyway, let's get this thing out of the way now. Gray has multiple bank accounts in the Cayman Islands. Don't quote me as saying that. I mean, I would not accuse. Anyway. I'm getting jealous, Gray. I'm getting jealous. Zax says, I'm getting jealous. Gray never even stops by my streams anymore. Not since the Godzilla. He got Godzilla famous. Ronnie, I never get super into Gundam, but I loved Evangelion. Yeah, Neon Genesis Evangelion was amazing. I watched all of it. I would watch it again. I watched the rebuild movies, although I think the original series is probably better because I get a little confused. I mean, I don't know. I kind of like the closure of the last Evangelion movie, but then I'm also like confused because I feel like that's not how it's supposed to be. But it is fun to watch. I gotta say that at least the rebuild movies were a visual spectacle, right? Shin Godzilla was interesting because like they're playing freaking Evangelion music in the middle of Shin Godzilla. Like they're playing that dramatic battle music. And I'm just like, what the hell? There's a bunch of Japanese guys with copy machines here. Like this does not warrant the freaking, you know, battle theme. But it was kind of cool anyway. Even though it was they put a lot of focus on the whole natural disaster emergency management, you know, aspect of the whole, you know, situation, basically modeling it after the whole big earthquake from 2013. I'll send you a postcard from the Caymans. I don't believe you, Gray. It's the thought that counts. Yeah, Zax, it's the thought that counts, according to Gray. And then Nas says, Gray, I'm a real weeb. You aren't a real anime fan. Anyone who hasn't seen Evangelion should be placed in a bamboo cell. Well, no. I disagree. Nosferatu the vampire. Anybody who has not watched Neon Genesis Evangelion should be placed into a bamboo cell that is too narrow to sit in and too short to stand in. Just like Al from Quantum Leap. When that man went to Nam, I remember he was telling, you know, Sam Beckett in the next to last episode of Quantum Leap how it was misery to be in that bamboo cell, and that's why I think Nas, you're not taking it far enough. Okay, if Admiral Al Calavici could be put in that type of, you know, torturous situation, then we got to put people who never saw Evangelion into at least as much of a compromising situation. I don't know what Unit 731 is. Zax. Gray doesn't even believe in space. I just watched Shin Godzilla. It's bonkers and really good. Yeah, I do it. I was blown away, honestly. Like, now, granted, maybe I was looking at it from like rose-tinted glasses, but I was blown away because like it kind of had some, reminded me a bit of the first Godzilla movie, but then like that bug-eyed creature just slopping around on the ground, unable to support its own weight. I don't know. That thing looked freaking ominous. You know, there's weird eyes like added to that effect. Like it looked like something that belonged underwater, a fish out of water, but a big fish out of water, right? And I don't know. I like how they handled the evolution. I'm a little upset they didn't do a sequel to that. So that's from me recentering the telescope. So that's totally normal. We can verify that we're on target with a short exposure. Make sure we don't get any streaks, basically. Yeah, you know, like it was out there, but I liked it because it was thinking outside the box. Now, here's the crazy thing. At the end of Shin Godzilla, right, you see the tail of that monster, and you see what looks like... You're saying, no, Ronnie, don't. Are you wanting me not to make spoilers? Okay, I won't. But you know where this goes, and, like, I don't know. They're not going to go there, but it would have been interesting to see them go there. That's all I'm saying, you know? It would have been interesting to go that direction. All right, so yeah, the stars are good. So we'll go ahead and crank up to a 5-minute exposure. And like once again, like I'm ecstatic that I can actually do a 5-minute exposure, and it only takes 5 minutes for the first picture to show up. Like that is a game changer from before. And the only issue I have right now is that when the computer reboots, I have to sometimes go outside and unplug and plug back in the motorized focuser for it to work. And of course, the other issue was the fact that I was getting a massive delay with getting these buttons to work. So until I can sort that out, I have to sometimes go into this application here, which is suboptimal. I mean, like, look, I don't want to have this whole freaking window on my screen just to do like little focusing. Like, that's not cool. But I guess I'll live with it for now. I just don't think it's cool. Let's see how small we can shrink this window. Maybe I can shrink it a lot. Now, this does have all the settings, like anti-backlash, for example. So, tomorrow, if I'm in a good mood, I might configure those settings. But I'll probably do this off-stream because I think we want to try to do something cool. Yeah, I can't... Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, that's not fun. It's kind of helpful, actually. All right. All right. It's good to have options. Little weird, but okay. Zax, it's true. I've only seen 5 kaiju movies. Nosferatu was the commander of Unit 666, the Satanic Unit. So now, at this point, I wish I could say I was going to play Pod Racer, but I conquered that game, thanks in no small part to the Padawannabe and JLM. And I'm taking applications from moderators, but there's this kid who comes in sometimes, nice kid. But he shows up in the chat. He's like, can I be a mod? Can I be a mod? And I tell him that he tickles my spidey sense. So that's why I don't make him mod. But if anybody else wants to be a mod, you know, just let me know. You know, it doesn't hurt. But I don't want anyone to feel responsible. So let's see here. Gray is the Mike Zero of Kaiju. So yeah, you know, like this is what we got. You know, nothing too exciting, but star clusters are a good way to practice your color combination, your color image processing. And also if the weather is a little sketchy tonight. In fact, let's check the microphysics map and find out if the weather is a little sketchy. So we type in microphysics and we get this weather map here. It actually looks kind of clear right now. It doesn't look that bad. So, I mean, I don't know what to make of it, to be honest. But, I mean, I see some stuff, but I think there's a way to see like low altitude or medium altitude clouds, like mid-level. Okay, there's some like water vapor in the atmosphere, right? You can see that stuff right over where I live. I live between, you know, like the bottom part of New York, basically. that might have an effect on the telescope. And let's see what the upper looks like. Because sometimes you have like clear skies. The forecast will be like, it's all good, clear skies, no worries. And then you'll go to use your telescope and it'll be like there will just be something like a fog or haze or something really just messing up every picture you try to take. Ronnie, what the fuck? Play Knights of the Old Republic right now. Don't mod Nosferatu. Well, if Gray says so, I better trust what Gray says. I want to be a mod so I can ban Gray. Alright, that's a tough one. Because Gray's like said the nicest things this entire stream, so it's like it's a real boost. It would be like a negative boost to my self-esteem if I got rid of Gray right now, you know? I mean, well then again, I mean, we've got a lot of good people here, but still, Gray's the best of you people. The best of you. Except maybe Zach's, because, you know, Zach's got bigger shoulders than everyone. But anyway, Padawannabe says, I just really don't know what to do with a wrench. I mean, I know, but I don't. Well, you know what I do with wrenches? I stalk people. No, okay, that's terrible. I don't mean that. What I mean is, when I have a wrench, you can click on people's channels and go to their channel. I find it, like, mind-blowing that you can't just click on people's channels to go to their channel. Like, you gotta go and like copy and paste their name, and if you're on a phone, you gotta basically memorize their name and then type their fucking name along with the zeros and uppercases and lowercase letters in order to find their channel. Whereas like even if like their channel is really difficult to find, if you're a wrench, you click on the name, it says go to channel and you're home free. Like it's like I kind of get why they might not want everyone to have that ability, but I mean, it's not like you're really protecting people's privacy either way, so I don't know why they don't just let everyone do that, you know? I guess so that mods have the option to share links or vet links. So, for example, like, if somebody shows up in my chat and they got like a really sketchy YouTube page, people can't be directed to it by accident, maybe? I don't know. Oh, should I show you? Maybe I'll show you something. Okay, so I'm going to make this the last official thing I can do for this stream tonight, guys. So, I'm going to show you a Xeon dong. You think I'm kidding? You think I'm kidding? I'm going to show you a Xeon dong. And then I'm ending the stream. I'm not even kidding. But if anyone has any thoughts, any questions, any concerns, any comments, any ideas, drop them before you go. And if you have any ideas of what I think I'm going to go and have me and Punk Waddle talk about the doomed Franklin expedition. But I had a couple ideas just to do a general reaction stream. When I messaged him, I thought he was going to say he was unavailable. So when he said, so what do you want to do it about? I was like, wait, what? You're available? I was like, oh, shit. I didn't plan. But Punk Waddle is the man. He's my favorite penguin, too. All right, so this is like part of this, right? And I started it years ago, and I decided to resume work on it since I finished a bunch of other Gundams recently. But I'm going to show you something crazy. I want it to be a surprise. It looked more like a dong at work today. Does that look kind of like a dong to you guys? Like, especially from it looked like a dong when I had it at my desk at work today. My coworker pointed it out to me. He's like, that looks like a dong. I don't know. I don't even know how these armor plates work. It's got like a very, it's supposed to like look kind of cool from a side angle. Like, I mean, you know, you see what they're going for here. But I gotta play with this tomorrow. We're not gonna play with this right now. I'm just gonna keep this in one. But that looks kind of like a dong. I wish it looked more like a dong for the sake of being able to make the point I'm trying to make right now. But you know, shit or dong. Man, I really want to show you guys my Xeon dong. There we go. Kind of. I got a funny story I forgot to share, but maybe I should save that funny story. So one day my friend finds an old answering machine tape. and it was a teacher calling my parents. And what happened was the teacher literally says, God, actually, I better just find the tape and play it back on stream because I think it'd be way more funny than me telling the story. But you know when you do something stupid and the teacher calls your parents and then you find the tape from like years ago? Yeah, it was like that. It was one of those, man. It was great. I was kind of proud of it in a sick kind of way. All right. Clean the keyboard maybe one day. But yeah, boring star clusters, and I think with the weather, I don't know. I mean, like, I want to do nebulas and galaxies, but I also need to get sleep. So anyway, let's see. Let's catch up with the chat, and then we will wrap it up. Ronnie, can I time out Gray for 10 seconds? You could if you were a mod. And if I see you at the next stream, I'll make you a mod, but only if Gray's not here, because I don't want to look like I'm taking sides. I want to be like Switzerland and then do the taking sides behind the scenes, maybe, just like they usually do on the global scale. Ronnie, can I? Oh, I read that part. I just read that chat already. And you also said Gray is a bundle of sticks. No Xbox, right? Yeah, no Xbox, Padawannabe. I have a PC, which is basically the same as a modern Xbox, but better. I have a Nintendo Switch Areno. I have a modded Wii. I have a modded Xbox Original. That's, you know, my primary hardware right there. The Padawannabe, if you get avenged, make sure you ban. My God, there's just a ban for ban war going on here. God, I gotta come here with topics that I can occupy your minds with something other than subjugating one another. Yeah, it does. I can see where you can see the resemblance, Padawannabe, between that mech and, you know, as a mech version of Samus from Metroid. I like Metroid. I like Samus. Metroids are dangerous. I didn't like Metroid of the M where she's like whining about the baby Metroid the whole game. That was kind of weird. I'm going to play with my dog tomorrow, Ronnie. And I did say that. I stand by my words. I'm going to play with my Xeon dong. Don't call your parents and play with your dong. Yeah, do those separately. Ronnie, I will kick Gray's ass. He won't do nothing. Well, I mean, I don't know how you're going to kick him if you're geographically separated. And, I don't know how to feel about this advocating of violence against Gray. I mean, maybe if you went with a wakizashi versus the other type of sword. Because you know what a wakizashi is? A wakizashi is a short samurai sword. It is for use in indoor environments so that you don't accidentally cut down all of the rice paper. Because if you have a long-ass outdoor sword, if you took a long outdoor sword inside during like the Shogun era, you'd be cutting down those freaking shoji screens left and right without even trying. So it's important to have the short wakizashi sword. And that's why Rurouni Kenshin has 2 swords on his belt instead of 1. I like the concept of I like the concept of Leisure Suit Larry. I haven't played it. I'd imagine the game is old enough at this point that it's got to be available for mobile devices, but I don't know. But I'm sure I can get it to work, you know, on my computer or Steam Deck or both. I have to look into that. Zach says, Nas has a goal of being the last man standing in any chat. He can't even do a Shiko. Listen to Gray, Ronnie. I've been stalking him to like the movie Perfect Blue. Nas says, Zach's, I got about 8 and then I got hungry. So yeah, anyway, gentlemen and ladies, if any are present still, you know, this is my Sunday bonus show. I intended to do this as an astrophotography log, like sort of like Captain's log, but not. And I went off the rails, which is fine because we had fun and we covered ground and we entertained, right? Lady Miss, good to see you. We do have a lady present. And so, yeah, you know, I don't always do the Sunday show, but I commit to doing the Monday show. And if you want to read me read me, if you want to read me, yeah. If you want to hear me reading a spooky Halloween story, go back to my Halloween episode. If you want to hear some discussion about Columbus Day stuff, you know, Indigenous Peoples Day and all of that, go back to my Columbus Day stream if those two things interest you. Otherwise, come back tomorrow for Monday, and I will, by the time my work day is over, I'm sure I'll have something ready for, you know, the entertainment of you guys and ladies. So, you know, with that said, I want to give a shout out to our favorite lurking member today, which is Lady Mist. But it was also a delight to have Zax and Gray here today. You know, cannot express enough to have like this A-game crew right here, this A-list crew right here. And of course, Nosferatu the Vampire, a fellow friend from the Nerdporial Continuum. And who else do we have here? I want to give more. I don't want to overlook the Padawannabe. I don't want to overlook Jana Banana. Thank you for subscribing. Cobra Ex Machina, which reminds me, I got to look into this Deus Ex Machina game. Examoon was a riot as well. And we even had a Lemon Pie, and we had Brandon Looney Tunes Fan 2000, who has 2,368 subscribers. And this man, this boy, this young man has surpassed his mentor, Stone Loki. Was like Stone Loki appeared on Brandon's show, and he was like, "Holy shit!" Well, he didn't say "holy shit." He was, you know, he doesn't curse, but he was like, "I surpassed you, Loki." And Loki's like, "Yeah, man, I know, good work." You know, because Loki's got a good positive attitude about that. But I was like, I thought that shit was amazing, you know. And I think that's partly a function of dedication and partly a function of Brandon has figured out the algorithm, apparently. Like, I think there's like a two thing going on, but I don't diminish it. I think it's like he's doing something right, you know, and I think a big part of it is being on top of the game, you know, doing his thing and doing it consistently. And that's why I do the Monday show, actually, is because when Stone Loki does his YouTube talk on Wednesdays, I remember he mentioned, like, whether you do it once every day, like on weekdays, or once every week, or once a month, whatever it is, keep doing it on that consistent basis. So I decided that if I can commit to anything, it would be the Monday show. And part of that is because on a school night, on a work night, I need to get my ass in bed. And so it keeps me within a 90-minute, 1 hour stream so that I don't go over. Because when you're doing shit like this, it turns into astronomy. The next thing you know, you got Pee-wee's Playhouse. And in fact, I was thinking about like doing like a weekend segment or weekday segment. My weekend is a 4-day weekend, and calling it DJ's Playhouse. You know, like sort of like if I'm playing video games, call that DJ's Playhouse. But anyway, enough on things I'm contemplating. I just once again want to say thank you guys for dropping by. I hope I was able to adequately entertain. I had no plan to see this many friendly faces tonight, but we do what we can, and you guys too, you know, Zax and Wakazashi, you guys keep up your good work as well. And with that being said, if I could think of anything else, don't forget to feed your turtles. If you see a snapping turtle on the side of the road, consider helping the fella or lady cross the road. Janet Banana, thank you for subscribing. Nas, thanks for dropping by as well. And with that being said, for anybody watching on the replay, if you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe. And for now, we shall end